Hey everyone, it's Nightlight9, and in this video we're going to be going over Black Waltz Ruin EX1, the new high difficulty boss that came out with the latest update. I want to go ahead and get into the team setup, but before we go through this, I do want to note, this is the highest team power that I've ever used in a video, and before you get a little bit scared about how high that power is, I can tell you that everything in my team was gotten from a basically free to play standpoint. In fact, the weapon that I spent any money on really in this game was Edged Wings, and I'm not using that, so keep that in mind. I did summon really hard on the current banner, but those were all free crystals. So the first thing I want to do before we go into team setup is show you what you're going to have to be able to survive, because there's essentially three things that you need to focus on when you're building your team. 1, HP. You're going to have a certain threshold of HP. 2, you need a way to debuff magic attack. Very important for survivability. And the third thing you need is enough attack stats, because it does become a DPS race. He will eventually start hitting you with strike for big enough damage to wipe your team. And so this is what we're looking at. Here you can see, this is the first move, Triple Waltz. He casts it almost immediately, or at least starts charging it immediately. And you can see here, this did 5,752 damage to Cloud. The next move you're going to have to be able to endure is the strike, and that's at the end. And this is about how much damage you could be looking at from here. Now, obviously, strike is a physical attack, so physical defense does help. And Triple Waltz and the majority of attacks that are done in this run are magical attacks, so magic defense will help. But if we notice that, Cloud took 5,750 damage, you can see here, he only has 106 magic defense. So we needed to make sure that he had, let's just say, more than 6,000 HP in order to survive this. Other than that, Cloud doesn't have any way to debuff. That's not what I set him up for. He's purely damage, and so we tried to get his physical attack stat as high as we possibly could, which can be a little bit of a chore when you're also trying to make HP as high as it can go. So we're sitting here at 2993. Here's what I have on him. I put crystal gloves on him because he needed HP. I didn't really have another better way to do that. He's got Iron Greatsword, and this is mostly just for damage, attack, and crit potency here. And he's got Glaried. Again, this is just for physical attack and limit break potency, because we are going to need to be able to dish out as much damage as we possibly can. All of these are stat 6, with the exception that he does need, you need some form of Ruinra or magic attack to get the boss down from flying, and you need Triangle Sigil Break, so you might as well just put those together, and then the rest can go towards stats on him, or whoever your main DPS is going to be. Coming over to Aerith, she has the most HP. It does seem that the boss, when he does his freeze lock, he seems to target whoever has the highest HP. It's not 100% of the time. Sometimes he'll vary that, but for the most part, it seems like you can get him to target somebody as long as they have the highest HP on the team. Why do we want that to be Aerith? Well, because that way we can get in more damage in order to, win this DPS race that's going to happen. So you just want Aerith set up with as much HP as possible, and a good enough heal stat to try to make your life a little bit easier. I've also set her up with D-Faith, and you'll see why in the very beginning of the video, because I want to be able to completely break his magic attack. In that screenshot that I showed you, that is with his magic attack buff completely nullified. He's not debuffed at that point, but he has no buff to his magic attack, and that is how much damage he still is able to pump out with that Triple Waltz. So another good item in this is Chocobo Staff. Magic defense increase is good because second Waltz, the one that does teleport, the one on the right, he will constantly debuff somebody's magic defense. And once they do that, they seem to target that unit consistently afterwards. So this is a good way to kind of try to balance out that magic defense debuff on somebody. Other than that, she's got a form of Triangle Sigil, and it's also magic, and everything else is set up for HP and survivability. All three of these weapons I've picked just because of their boost in HP. With that being said, we will go to our last person, which is Tifa. I've set her up as a secondary damage dealer. I was only able to get her up to about 2,000 physical attack because, again, trying to get that HP up, and we're bringing Tiger Fangs as usual for the magic attack decrease. The fact that it's got a mid potency is going to be the linchpin in getting him completely debuffed from that magic attack buff that he gets in the beginning. Other than that, sub-equipment, it's literally just how much physical attack can I get without sacrificing too much HP. She also has, a form of Ruinra with the triangle. Everything else is stat stick. And we're using Somersault because the debuffs are going to be nice to help us get in as much damage as possible. That is the team setup. Remember to focus on HP, magic attack down, and damage. And you should be good to go. And now we'll get into the fight. Alright, starting off, the first thing I'm going to do is jump on Aerith. I want Tifa to upper shot the middle Black Waltz guy, but I want to wait till after Faith casts. The AI kind of does this automatically, and then immediately start casting Defaith. You're going to need to cast Defaith twice to completely remove that buff. And make sure you switch your stances. Triple Waltz hits, and I've already showed you a screenshot of this damage, and this is fully debuffed again, or at least down to neutral. Alright, here you've got some breathing room, so I'm going to switch stances back in order to try to fill that stance gauge so that my heal is as powerful as it can be. He'll go ahead, do his little Soar cutscene, not worried. You do have a little bit of time before the first attack starts, then immediately switch over, use your Karaga, and at this point, I'm focusing on two things. We see that teleport move on the right happen, and you notice simultaneously Aerith's magic defense went down. I buffed her because it is kind of hard to heal through all of that unless your heals are really high. So we buff her to even out her debuff and give her, back to neutral again. And then the two things that I'm really focused on is one, actually I guess we'll say three things. I'm trying to heal everybody up. I'm trying to keep the magic debuff on the middle guy and the right guy. So making sure upper shot keeps going on because I don't want their magic to be insane. And then the third thing is trying to kill the Black Waltz 1 on the left. So kind of a balancing act, and you'll see here I'm switching targets, just trying to keep them debuffed. And this ultimately just makes Aerith's life a lot easier. In the meantime, trying to switch stances when possible, but also trying to maximize my damage to kill this guy on the left as fast as possible. And I don't necessarily prioritize Solid Mana Ward every single time somebody gets a debuff, because I am trying to kind of keep everybody healed evenly and do other things, but especially if I'm ahead of the game on it, if I have the ATB when the guy first casts the move, I will always try to get that back to neutral. Or if I see it go to down 4, which means he's cast it again and stacked it, then again I will try to, get that back down to a reasonable number, because if he debuffs you down with 4 down arrows, that party member is going to be taking a lot of damage, even if it's Aerith, who has by far the most magic defense. At this point, I'm really focusing on healing. I'm taking a lot of damage, though, because I noticed that guy on the right has a ton of buff to his magic attack, so I wanted to make sure that Tifa got in her upper shot. They have fixed Amaranth's Claws, where she now uses it. Sometimes, though, I feel like it's possible for her to use that instead of things I want. I don't know, so I just always kind of, if I get a little bit worried that something's happening not the exact way that I want it to, I will always jump over to that character and start manually controlling them. Using Tifa's Limit Break, the Somersault liberally here, because we're just trying to get these guys down as fast as possible. Once you get, the two Black Waltz 1 and Black Waltz 2 down, things become a little bit more manageable, or at least a little bit less chaotic. So here, still just focusing on trying to keep everybody healed, switch stances as much as possible. Here I notice Aerith's Limit Break, which is the one that takes the longest to charge, is up. So I'm going to try to build up for the super combo with Tifa and Cloud in order to maximize my damage once I get his flying buff removed. Because until then, physical attacks are not going to be effective. So this is where just, casting the Ruinras over and over again are going to be kind of what you need to do until you get him completely debuffed here. And then he'll do this, he'll fall, descent, and he'll get stunned momentarily. So this is a perfect time. I also, wanted to be able to actually make Aerith's limit worth something, so that heal isn't just cast purely for a damage bonus. And that allows Aerith to also get in some extra damage and get some Ruin Risen and stuff. So that's what we're doing here, and this is where we start just really focusing on piling on DPS, because we know we only have a certain number of strikes before it doesn't matter what you do. He's going to start doing 30,000 plus damage a shot and one-shotting all of your party members one by one. So you do want to have everybody, or at least Aerith, because I'm assuming that she's going to be targeted. If she's not, it doesn't matter. I can always heal that other party member that's attacked. But if it's her, I want her to have max HP because she does not have high physical defense. So I see this freeze lock. I know it's going for Aerith. Time to jump onto somebody else. Luckily, Aerith also has a good amount of ATB, so she's going to be able to cast Curaga as soon as this is over. So we switch our stances to make sure that, you know, we survive. 6,191 damage. That was a huge shot. And again, why you're trying to aim for, I would say aiming for 6,500 plus HP is probably where you want to go here. Again, I'm just trying to keep Aerith, you know, from dying, but also maximizing my damage. So one of the things that I will do to try to ensure that is, if I see, as I see her limit break bar going up, I will start casting Ruin Res a little bit more liberally, because I know that if I get to the point, you know, where I can cast her limit, it's not really going to matter. I don't have to, you know, worry about dying. So around here, I see that she's about halfway, and then he starts his Sigil Break, which is actually pretty perfect, especially that he targeted Tifa here, because Tifa's limit's going to build up really quickly, but Aerith's is the one, you know, that's going to be the slowest to build up. So this gives me some time to really get Aerith's limit going, and I'm just jamming these Ruin Res to raise that limit, do as much damage as I can in the meantime. And I see here that I'm going to have another super combo. Really wanted to get it done before he lost his other debuffs, so that I get in the maximum amount of damage. And you'll see here, this cross slash ends up doing 37,000, which is, I think, about 9 to 11,000, something like that, more than it did when he didn't have those initial debuffs. Okay. Here, switching stances, obviously, as much as possible to avoid the nuke damage, but I can tell you I'm really hoping that Aerith just gets targeted again, because I see the HP now. We're in the home stretch. I can see it going down. If he targets Aerith again, I'm not really going to worry about anything. And so here, Aerith doesn't have enough HP to survive this regardless of what I do, so I'm not even going to switch stances. I'm just going to purely focus on damage, and I'm just going to let Aerith die, because I know that I can take him down from here. So you might as well just preserve your stance bar and just keep going for it. And so here we are. We're just going all out, doing as much damage as we possibly can. Get in a somersault, which is always nice for the damage buff. And right after that, I'm going to switch to Cloud. He's actually doing more damage, so I want to make sure that he's casting that free energy as often as he possibly can, because those 10,900 damage chunks are big. I see him almost down. I don't want Cloud to get frozen, so I cast the Ruin Reblow. The AI automatically does their move, and that is the fight. So I can tell you, if he would have cast another strike, from there on out, it would start being one-shotting every person on your team. So after that second freeze, you know now you're on the clock. Things need to happen pretty fast. And that's the video. If this helped you clear Black Waltz Ruin EX1, subscribe for more content. As always, thanks for watching.